I'm gonna make a disclaimer before this video starts. If you don't get Yu-Gi-Oh! Lingo, you're not going to get this video at all. I'll do my best to explain it, but anything else, I can't really help much from there. If you've ever played Magic the Gathering, the Pokemon trading card game, or the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, you've probably been in a card shop before. If not, you do you. But as a kid, I was a massive Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, and I still kind of am to this day. It flips back and forth with me. Though during the peak of it, I was at the card shop every week, and well, I have some wild stories from when I was at the card shop as a kid. I'd say let's get the introduction out of the way and just jump right into them. First, I'd like to mention how I found the card shop. While not trying to give away where I live, if you've ever been to one of those places that has a bunch of stores in one section, there was always this one building that was constantly empty, and it kept cycling through stores until eventually it landed on a, I think, tarot card shop of all things. But before it was that, it was just a card shop at one point. Small, but it finally gave my community an excuse to play card games. Except back then, that's not what I went there for. I went there because they had retro video games, and that was my interest at the time. Fast forward, I want to say a few months to a year later, it eventually switched buildings, but it stayed in the same lot, only it just got a building that made it a lot bigger. And it was with this upgrade when I decided that I would go with my friend's uncle to the card shop every week, and we would just, hang and socialize and things of that nature. I would like to preface that I was very crap at playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Even if someone was going their absolute easiest on me, I would have a very, very hard time actually trying to get over them because, well, the cards in my deck were weak as hell. How I started off with the game was, at the time, the card shop had this little special box that had a Yu-Gi Reloaded starter deck in it. My friend's uncle bought it for me, and, well, here's what happened with that. I opened it, then opened the packs that came with it, and then shoved any card that just looked good to my absolutely non-able to judge eyes into the deck. And anytime that I opened a pack at the store, I would grab whatever card looked good to my eyes and just shove it into the deck, meaning that the deck had no chemistry in itself, and it was at 60 cards, which, unless I'm running a super strategy, isn't good. Everyone in that store would have to play the "he's an inexperienced kid" card on me, and it, in hindsight, it makes me feel a bit dumb, but at the same time, anything to get away from those god-awful meta decks. Speaking of that, however, even though that I was absolutely terrible at building a deck, I was, however, a Joey Wheeler guy. What I mean by this is my pack luck was absolutely absurd. Anytime I picked out a pack at the store, I'd pick it from the booster box, and I'd take some from, the middle part, and some from this part, and that part, and you get the gist, right? When I joined the card shop, I was in the midst of when Link summoning was first a thing, and one of the first broken cards to come out of that was Firewall Dragon, a card that was highly sought after and was then limited in Konami ban list because it was really just that damn good. And well, guess who pulled that card with his silly little card pack tactics? So I may or may not have been the biggest f***ing flex in the entire world. Please understand that back then my social cues were shit, and now they're better, but they're still kind of shit. I wanted to flex that card so badly. Thankfully, my friend's uncle was there, otherwise I would have looked like the biggest dick in the f***ing shop. I also say that I was a Joey Wheeler guy because for some reason I ended up with a lot of cards that were Red Eyes support. I probably should have made a Red Eyes deck, but I wasn't smart. It was my calling. What I did try to do, however, was build an Elemental Hero deck, but sadly that deck was never finished because I eventually stopped going to the card shop for reasons that I may mention in a separate video because I'll put it this way. My friend's uncle wasn't the greatest person, and I'll leave it at that for the time being. Back to the more lighthearted stuff, there was this kid that went to the card shop, and he, I believe, also went to my school, I can't remember, and I I don't think he knew how to play the game. What I mean is, one time we had a duel against each other, and I switched a monster of mine into defense position. Pretty simple stuff, right? Well, when I had switched my monster into defense position, he thought that I just re-summoned it. I'm sorry, what? This kid also had the nerve to say that my hands were too small to shuffle cards, which they were not. The issue that I had with shuffling cards is I had those absolutely cheap Ultra Pro card sleeves that they made back then with the little emblem on the front of them. You know, those ones that ripped in half if you did so much as breathe on them. It was the sleeves' fault. It was not me having tiny hands. Jesus. My final story for today's video is the one that is in the title of the video. You may have been wondering, if you've clicked on this, what Exodia The Forbidden One has to do with anything. Well, I'll tell you. For a split second, I thought I was in a goddamn anime. Now, it wasn't me who lost to Exodia, it was someone else in the card shop who lost to Exodia. And I remember this bit by bit because, let's be real, you do not forget when something like this happens. Me and my friend's uncle were just looking at each other's decks, trying to, I guess, see if we could do anything. I was probably thinking about unnecessarily adding cards that shouldn't be in there, and he was probably thinking about actual strategy. When suddenly out of nowhere, we just hear, "No! No! Oh my god, no!" The both of us turn to look, and we see a guy, to his dismay, on the ground, literally on the ground, crying. Well, not actually crying, but that man was upset. He was upset because his guy, his opponent, drew all 5 pieces of Exodia and won over his meta combo or something of that nature. And what really kills me is he was doing all of this over an exhibition duel. There was no tournament going on that night. There was nothing. He's crying over nothing. Literally nothing. It was an exhibition duel and you lost. What are you crying about? Is your first and last name Seto Kaiba? Because Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sorry that some people may have counters to Firewall Dragon with the decks that they just like to use because not everyone wants to play the meta, you sick fuck. My apologies, but yeah, that's about all when it comes to the card shop and my experiences when I went there. Will I go back? Maybe. I'm an adult now, and I do need something as a way to socialize with people, and I like not just Yu-Gi-Oh! These days, but I also like Pokemon, and maybe I'll try Magic, who knows. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you later. Bye! Hello and welcome to the end card. How are you doing? I hope you enjoyed this one. This one took a lot of effort. One of my videos should be popping on the screen soon. If you would like to check out my other content, also a little subscribe tab, please subscribe. Thanks again and bye again.